I didn't even call the satellite company yet. Dang it. You guys are, I'm slipping. All right. I just clicked the satellite button. So, streamers, welcome to the show. You guys get to see how it happens in real life behind the scenes. And when I start talking and I forget that I have to call the satellite company, you guys get to watch me do that as well. So, everybody having a good week so far?
I can't believe it's Thursday already.
Dude, I know.
Peter, how you doing there, Dale?
Peter, doing good. Just doing my sound check before we go live. How are we sounding today? Testing. All right. Thanks, Peter. Bye-bye. All right, we're good with Westwood One. So thanks, Westwood One in Denver. We appreciate it. All right, man, we're batting 1,000. Okay, we've got streamers. We've got 5 minutes and 30 some seconds according to the clock behind me before we go live on satellite radio. And you guys can see the crew. I'll do the. It's basically going to be the Secret Service guys today, and of course, Chuck and Scott are going to keep them on their toes. So it should be a good show today. So, anybody got big plans for the weekend yet? Oh, come on, guys! Am I the only guy that has plans already built up for the weekend?
No.
Hey, Chip, I'm retired. Every day's a weekend for me.
Yeah. Yeah, going to the Tampa Police Academy, like I told you guys, tomorrow, and I don't want to give too much information out yet because there's always saboteurs. They'll always try to prevent something from happening. But I want that to go through, and of course I got dinner on Friday night, which is a little unusual, but we usually go out one night a week, my wife and I, and nothing fancy. We just she's a vegetarian, so we have vegetarian throughout the week and go out to eat on the weekend and still eat healthy on the weekend. So
that sounds like a lot of fun, Chip. That's
vegetarian.
That's how. Well, I was going to say. That's how you know. That's how you know you're getting older. Like you have your once a week go out with the wife, and that's what you look forward to. That's good though. That's good. It's good to spend time with the wife. You have to do that.
I'm so busy. I've been wearing hats because my hair is getting so long. I haven't had time to go to the barber and get it cut. It's just with this project. So I probably will be announcing tomorrow the project that I've been working on and giving out the domain name for. But it is involving resurrecting the old Leo affairs. And so I've been talking a little bit about it on the show, but I haven't given out the URL. The domain name so people can go to it yet. I want to make sure they got everything, set up and everything's looking good on it, but it's looking good so far. So,
Chip, I thought maybe you'd open the show by eating a McDonald's arch like the CEO did. Like being the vegetarian that you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a part-time vegan, dude. I love meat. Don't get me wrong. I love meat, but
a lot of Italian vegans, Frank.
I gotta tell you, I don't like vampires, actually.
I don't like anyone.
We're in the same shoe then. I guess, yeah, exactly.
You guys would be surprised on some vegan options that are really not bad. And you know what, we if it's wild caught, we do the fish thing. Fish is pretty good. So, but just all these hormones and all this stuff, you really never know what you're getting. And that's a scary thing. And so my wife, it all started when she read a book called The China Study, and that did it, dude. She read that book and what goes on and where the meat and where the shrimp comes from Thailand and what they do to it and the deformities on all the even on the fish and stuff you get that's farm raised and stuff and just all the all that stuff. It scared her. So so we do eat meat on the weekend, but it's fish or chicken. So. And Chuck, how do you roll down there in the West Palm area?
Yeah, we eat everything over here. I'm a meat eater. I eat fish. I'm a vegetarian as well. I love vegetables. Yeah. Right, but the same thing with vegetables. You don't know what they're using for when they're growing these vegetables if it's non-organic. So, yeah.
I juice my vegetables. It's much easier to get them down that way. I juice them, throw them in the Ninja, juice them up. Put an apple in there. There you go.
I thought you said you nuked them. You threw them in the microwave and nuked them.
We can do that too. We can nuke them. We're going to be talking about that later.
Oh yeah, it's coming up. Yeah. Oh. So yeah, I gotta get a new mug for Rich because that mug just isn't. That's just not doing it for me, Rich.
What, the Wawa paper cup? You can't go wrong with this. Biodegradable.
It's blending into your background.
Oh yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, it was like disappearing. Well, let's see here. We've got
Frank.
We got people on. Let's see. We got about a minute before we start the radio portion of the show. We got Sergeant George on, and it looks like he's on YouTube. Betty Dunn is on Facebook, and yes, Betty, we have a full house. It's good to see you back, Betty. Let me go in and check Rumble real quick, just make sure that we're up and running on Rumble, and that our fan base is over there. And yep, we got MBS is there. MBS is there, Northwest Colorado, 38 degrees. And lastly, I'm going to check LinkedIn and make sure that we're live on LinkedIn. They have a tendency to be a little bit more temperamental on LinkedIn, so you never know if we're going to be up and running. But it looks like we are. We're running. We're up and running on LinkedIn. So guys, we're batting 1,000. It's a good sign. All right. Well, guys, we're about 21 seconds away. I'm going to start the music, and we'll get this party started. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, I'm taking a couple of the main topics out of order so we can cover the one you sent me. Oh, that's a great story. We'll be covering that as the third main topic. Here we go, guys. Put your seatbelts on. All right, guys, and welcome to Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host, and we're a group of law enforcement professionals that talk about today's news and issues, but we do it from a law enforcement perspective. Let me introduce the crew. Guys, if you don't mind waiting for the video portion of the show, it's going to be a great show, guys, for people watching the show. This is going to be fantastic. We got Rich Darapoli and Frank Loveridge, both retired SACs from the Secret Service and special agents in charge. We've also got Lieutenant Chuck Springer, all the way from LAPD. Of course, he got smart. He migrated over here to Florida. He lives further south than I do. And then Scott Steyert, former Green Beret, Delta Force operative, and he's got some great insight. Scott, I remember when we covered Venezuela, and you were just like spot on. The only thing, it was just, I know you wish that you were there because all your bros were down there getting it done. But it was a great conversation, great insight into how you guys operate. So thanks for being on the show, guys. A shout out to our sponsors. We have our title sponsor, Gulls at Gulls.com. We also have CompliantTechnologies.com, our satellite sponsor. And we have Gunlearn.com, MyMedicare.live, SafeguardRecruiting.com, our streaming sponsor. And yes, thanks to them, during the live show, we're streaming to over 1 million followers right now on social media. And TwoBells.com. They built a new online store at LeoRoundtable.com. Please go there, get cool shirts like the one I'm wearing, the coffee mug behind me. We've got all kinds of really cool things there. We don't charge anything extra, so we're just trying to get our gear out there. And also a shout out to Brian Burns for the Tampa Free Press at TampaFP.com. Thanks for carrying the content, Brian. Ray Dietrich with formerlawman.com, same thing. And finally, Travis Yates with lawofficer.com. Thanks to all those entities for helping make this show happen. And now, what in the world are we talking about today? Guys, we have three main topics. They have a tendency to be a little bit deeper. We're covering two polls because the goal is to make the people that watch the show among the smartest people in the room when it comes to certain topics, especially as it deals with law enforcement. I just thought it was a good opportunity as we're winding out the week to cover the polls. The first one is what percentage of Americans actually want all illegal migrants sent home. So we're not talking about the worst of the worst, but everybody. It might surprise some people. And then what is the approval of military action against Iran? And then how is it split between like independents, Republicans, and Democrats, And then U.S. will bitterly regret sinking Iranian warship, the foreign minister warns. And they're looking for Trump's blood. So that we're going to, our Secret Service guys can be all over that. Then we got a Volusia County Sheriff's deputy shaved. I don't think he shaved, but he's saved by a body cam when he was shot twice during a battery investigation. That's a wild video. And we got two more stories for the video component. We got a canine catching a bad guy under the crawl space in the house. That must have hurt. And then we got a police cruiser rolling over during a pit, but it's crazy. We've been holding this story, wanting to cover it. It looks like the first cruiser tried to pit this guy pulling an empty trailer, and he ended up on top of the trailer in the police car going for a ride. And then the second cruiser comes along, pitched the dude in the truck that's towing the trailer that's got the cruiser on top of it, and the cruiser, they jackknives, cruiser goes off, and it's flipping end over end, and then our truck does a head-on crash into a tree. It's a crazy video. So if you guys are ready, let's go and get this party started. You know, our first one, Breitbart.com, there's a poll saying 57% of Americans want all illegal migrants sent home. You know, they're calling that migrant work, not illegal aliens, you know, but so 57% of Americans want all illegal migrants sent home, according to a Harvard-Harris poll. Now, it includes 54% of political independents, 79% of Republicans, but just 35% of Democrats, according to this poll taken between February 26 and 28, 1,900 registered voters by the Harris poll and Harris X. Now, the majority support mass deportations. It's notable because it remains strong amid massive resistance by pro-migration politicians, the Democrat establishment, the establishment media, and various pop culture influencers. So it says the poll also showed 63% support for a draft law that would bar the award of commercial driver's license going out to illegal immigrants, and 40% of Democrats favor for the curbs. So the majority support for deportations that coexist, and this is interesting, with swing voters who dislike tough police tactics required that we have to do to find and deport the illegals. And of course, there's fierce opposition from pro-migration activists. And for an example, it says the polls show that 55% oppose hiring an additional 20,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents in order to get the immigration raids and to police from different parts of the country. So there's some misinformation going on out there. Some people are confused, and you know what? Some people just don't like the optics. You know, they just don't like what it looks like. You know, when you're having to go chase down, these are bad guys. They're illegals. I mean, and remember, a decent portion of these guys are murderers, they're rapists, they're child predators. It's just sickening. So I don't know what it is, guys. And whoever wants to start it off, I don't know how we swing, or if we can swing the American public or a higher percentage. I mean, I know that the vast majority of Americans want any illegal out. I know my wife's family came from Colombia, but they came the legal way. And they hate it because it just I can't use the word on the radio, but it upsets them, you know, because these guys don't want to stand in line. Rich, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is your pocketbook, right? You want to get to the heart of this matter. Anybody that's paying taxes and it's working a legitimate job, how can you possibly substantiate housing and educating and providing all these benefits for all these illegal aliens, many of whom are in fact criminals? I am a huge proponent, and I've said this on every show that I've been on, of tracking them all down and shipping them all out of here. You want to come back, you come back legally. You want to hire 25,000, 100,000 more ICE agents, immigration agents, whatever title you want to give them. I'm a big fan of that, because there simply aren't enough of these guys around so that when a uniformed cop or a federal agent lays hands on one of these illegal aliens, and that's what they are. This whole thing about undocumented migrant, that's nonsense. My father came to this country, joined the Army because that was the fast track to becoming a citizen, became a citizen, paid his taxes, and there was no issue. I am so sick and tired of giving a huge portion, which we found out from the testimony of this idiot governor from Minnesota, a huge portion of my salary is going to taxes that are being given to all these fraudsters that are out there. This has got to be stopped. Shut it down now.
Yeah, bravo. Totally agree. Frank?
Well, Richie, you're dead on. We've talked about this before. This was one of the major platforms that President Trump ran on, was to shut down the border and to basically go after them in mass deportations. And the American people were good with this. They voted for them. And I think these numbers are skewed. I think more people, if it's phrased correctly, and a lot of people are afraid to answer these types of polls, that you'd find more people agree with the deportation of these illegal criminal aliens in our country. And I echo what Richie's saying. Look at all the money and fraud that went to Minnesota. Look at $9 billion of American taxpayer dollars that was sent to the city of Minneapolis, the state of Minnesota, and that money went out fraudulently for a group of people that 80% of them are on public assistance. That's not what immigration is designed to do. My mother and father are both immigrants as well. They came over from Canada. They both had jobs. They both worked, and my dad served in World War II. That's what it's all about. You don't come to this country and expect to go right on public assistance. That is not the way to do it. And another thing, I just saw this today, and I don't know if you've seen this either, Chip, but DHS is taking over the role of the IRS now and going after employers that are employing these illegal criminal aliens. That's a great step forward. But we have to make sure that people come through the front door. I'm not against immigration. Neither is Richie. We've talked about this before. But if you're going to do it, you got to do it the right way.
Yeah, interesting. You said DHS and there's been some issues with the sharing of data through federal agencies, and some judges have been weighing in on that. So I suspect that we're going to have some more rulings from some woke activist judges out there. Scott, kind of curious what your input is, since you date a lot of Somali women. I'm kind of curious where you're at on all this stuff right now, because it's kind of depleting the pool of available. Well, you know where I'm going.
Well, I mean, let's just say that everybody loves to eat sausage, but they don't want to know what's in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where, yes, the majority of Americans are against it. And in order to fix this problem, it's going to be ugly. Let's face it. I mean, if the last administration didn't allow in, 15 million, 20 million, 30 million, I've heard all kinds of numbers. If that would have never happened, it probably wouldn't have got to this point. Also, if the leaders of these states, like Minneapolis or Minnesota, and the governor, if they just would have allowed it, and they wouldn't have created this animosity, if they wouldn't have gone on national television and made ICE this bad person, and it would have never happened. So it would have happened a lot smoothly, but unfortunately, because it was inherited, it's going to be ugly, but it doesn't have to be, is my point. And it's just, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think the governor was just happy that there was another talking point in the media. You remember what was right around the time? Well, right around the time, Good got shot in Minneapolis. The spotlight was on the governor because of all the Somali fraud, and so he wanted to jump on that bandwagon that kind of switched the narrative. But are you guys ready for the next poll? Because I'm always surprised when I see the numbers on this one. We have just over a minute left before we take our first commercial break. But on this next one, we've got 3 stories. The middle one being a cool video with the submarine, but we got 3 stories tied in together. So this first one, realclearpolling.com. I can thank Richie for hooking me up with that source, and then rumble.com, the Liberty Daily. Approval of military action against Iran. And look, there is a huge law enforcement tying on this, but so they have different poll sources and they're averaging this out, but the average approval for military action against Iran is 43%, and the disapproval is 48.6%. So they're close, but the disapproval outweighs the approval rate by a slim margin. We're going to come back from commercial break and talk about that, and then we're going to watch a really cool video. But guys, stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, guys, it's time to talk about our title sponsor, Galls at Galls.com. And as police officers, one of the things we do so well is we love to buy gear. We're really good at it. And when you throw the online option, it's like limitless. So I want to remind everybody about what really is most important here. It's about supporting the companies that actually support law enforcement. And I don't know if a company does that better than Galls at Galls.com. Even their motto, which you can see for the video users on the banner behind me, proud to serve those who serve, which of course they do in spectacular fashion. And not only that, they walk the talk by supporting dozens of focused organizations like this radio show. So when you're looking for gear, please support our title sponsor by going to Galls at Galls.com, and they're going to do you one better. For the loyal listeners of the show, they've got a radio code that'll get you 15% off most purchases at Galls.com. It's Radio 15. So go to Galls.com today and type in Radio 15 in order to get 15% off most purchases. And they have gift cards. Hook up your family, friends, and loved ones with the new Galls gift card. They'll be your new best friends because they have everything but guns and ammo. Galls.com. All right, we got 2 minutes, guys, before we come back to the radio portion of the show. And how's that pair of Galls tactical pants doing, Richie? I love mine.
I got to tell you, like I said, they never fade. They clean up real well, and you don't have to iron these things. They're leap years ahead of the old BDUs.
Yeah, much better. I'd asked you to stand up in the hopes you had them on, but last time I had you do that, it didn't work out too well. But But
listen,
yeah.
just be happy I don't say any of the 10 words that you told me not to say.
Yeah.
I am.
Especially when we're talking about illegal aliens. You got to be kidding me.
Oh, I just went to St. Augustine, and I went to Georgia, went back to the woods, and I wore my Gauls tactical pants, the mission mates that we got hooked up with, and I bought a pair of waterproof Danner boots because remember last time I slipped in the woods and blew out my knee, and these things are awesome, these boots, and so I took those up there, wore those again because I'm not going to have that knee thing happen again. So yeah, it was a great trip. And the pants worked out great. And I also wore those pants when I did the glove challenge, when I was like, flipping and stuff. And yeah, no tears, no snags, no nothing. It was great.
Yeah, and the pockets are great, especially the pouch pockets. I find I can fit a whole family of Somalis in one pocket. It's great.
Nice.
Wow.
Yep.
Hey, on those pants, do they have the little the pockets for knee pads to put in there?
Not on the ones I've got. No, okay. I know what you're talking about, but no.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean that when I first got the cries that had those, I was like, whoa, this is a game
really
changer.
I never even thought about that. Interesting.
Oh, it is. I mean, especially when you get older. Like I have a couple of pair that I wear around here when I'm working, and they have to have pads.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we don't get on our knees that much, Scott. All right, here we go. Back to radio. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host. We're joined by two Secret Service sacks, Rich Staropoli and Frank Loveridge. We've got Lieutenant Chuck Springer from LAPD, and we got Scott Steyer, former Green Beret and Delta Force operative. And, we're talking about the poll that was taken recently, the approval of military action against Iran. And I got to admit, I'm so excited about the war and finally trying to put an end to this regime in Iran that can reach out and touch so many people. And I'm so glad that we've got an administration that doesn't want to wait until they actually get nuclear capability. Although we found out recently that during negotiations, they said, hey, we've already got nuclear capability for 13 warheads or something. They were lying. But and then of course you can't believe anything that comes out of their mouth in any deal they make, but they're not going to stop until they get a long range nuclear delivery that can reach the continental United States. But this approval, 43% approve of the war, 48.6 disapprove. So the margins are close, and then we're going to talk about the U.S. submarine sinking the Iranian flagship by torpedo in international waters, coming up, and then we have another article coming up. But thoughts on this, guys? Frank Loveridge, why don't you start us off there? Thank you, buddy.
Well, Chip, I'll just say that I'm not really confident in these polls. You see such a difference. Look at Trafalgar, has 54% approval, but some of the other polls are so low on the approval ratings. And that's because of the people that they're actually polling. And I don't know about you, but I don't answer polls.
I don't either.
I think basically that people on the right side of the aisle are more reluctant to answer these types of polls. But what I would say is I think the Trump administration needs to do some messaging right now. I think the most important thing is to talk about Midnight Hammer was an excellent operation. It destroyed the centrifuges to enrich the uranium, but you still had 60% enriched uranium, which we saw on satellite, the Iranians moving that prior to the strikes. So we know they had enriched uranium. And within 2 weeks, they could take that 60% and bring it up to 90%, which is weapons grade. So they were moving forward in the nuclear program. And that is how they have to frame this, because that's the biggest threat we have. If the country of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, gets a nuclear weapon, it would be the end. And think back to North Korea. If we'd only done that back then when North Korea was developing their nuclear weapons, we wouldn't have to deal with it the way we are right now. But we have a situation where we have the capability of stopping Iran. This is absolutely the most important reason, not just the fact they took our Americans hostage, not because the IEDs that were set off in the Middle East, in Baghdad and Iraq that literally lamed our American soldiers and also killed our American soldiers. But the nuclear threat was definitely prevalent. And if we don't deal with it now, we'll be dealing with it later.
Excellent. Well, Rich and Chuck, we haven't heard from you yet. Go ahead and weigh in.
Well, as far as I agree with you guys, I don't answer polls either because they're usually not worded properly. They're very black and white, and it doesn't give you a lot of option to actually provide your opinion. So they're very leading. But the poll numbers don't really surprise me either way, because I mean, it's a military action. A lot of people don't like military actions to begin with. So the fact that there's that many people that are against it is not really a surprise. And then you look at the numbers coming from the various media outlets. Well, you get it. Fox was 50-50. And then you get to NBC, CNN, CBS. They're all going to be negative numbers, because guess what? They're polling their viewers, and their viewers are indoctrinated by the channels that they watch. So not really surprising. And I agree with Frank. It was about time that somebody did something, and I'm glad the way they're doing it, they're doing it right. It's not piecemeal. They're going in and they're hammering the crap out of them. And you've got to destroy their entire military capability when you do that.
Yes, they are. Rich, I saw two other sources. I guess we had 54-37 insider advantage, and then there was another one, Trafalgar Group, 54-41. So there are some polls that are showing it heavily slanted with approval ratings.
Yeah, but part of the problem with these polls is a lot of these polls are done by colleges. Well, whether it's Muhlenberg or Liberty, or the big one is Siena College, right? You always hear about the Siena poll. That's Siena College. And I actually had an opportunity to go up to Siena College when my son was applying for colleges. That school is sitting in the middle of nowhere, basically surrounded by food courts and strip malls. What the hell do these college kids know anything about the Iranians? Most of them are 18 years old, 18 to 22, right? The Iranians, you're talking about something that happened 40, 50 years ago. They have no clue about the Iranian situation, the history with the Iranians, the military, or anything like that. So, you can take these polls and put them on the shelf as far as I'm concerned. You want to give me a poll? Go poll people that live in the area around Fort Bragg, or up in upstate New York around, the 10th Mountain Division. Then you'll get a poll that I think will be a little bit more skewed towards the reality of what's going on and the engagement with the Iranians. But I will also point out one other thing you may not know, Chip, is that Frank, when he talks about the nuclear situation, as much screwing around as I do with Frank, the guy was a nuclear missile commander in the Air Force for how many years, Frank? A dozen, right? So he does kind of know what he's talking about.
Is that right?
Was, sir. Yes. I spent 4 years on alert at Ellsworth Air Force Base in a missile combat crew commander position underground, about 90 to 180 feet, depending on the silo. And at my disposal, I had two keys like they have in the movies, and deputy commander has one, I have the other, and you insert those keys and you turn them, and fireworks begin. Yeah. Wow.
Well, I got a question for you, Frank. What did you think about that? So I know that your Air Force is different, but what do you think about that video of the submarine sinking the Iranian flagship? I mean, when was the last time you saw something like that?
Well, I wasn't alive for World War II, thank God. That was the last time that happened. Goes underneath the hull with the 48, which was the Mark 48, I believe they used, and I mean, it was a direct hit, and it brought it to the bottom of the ocean. Bravo.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes, but yeah, excellent.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. That final story, we'll probably, I know we're about 35 seconds away from our second commercial break. So we'll, I'll whet the appetite on the topic for that. But, there are ramifications apparently from doing that. The title of the next article, U.S. will bitterly regret sinking Iranian warship, foreign minister says, and the Ayatollah is calling for Trump's blood. So stick tuned, guys. We're going to find out the seriousness of this threat, or if it is that serious. We got our second commercial break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, introducing Compliant Technologies at complianttechnologies.com. And they're committed to providing non-lethal solutions to help officers gain the upper hand safely and rapidly in a humane, low-optics manner, utilizing their CD3, which stands for Conductor Distraction and De-escalation Technology. Now, their flagship product, we all know by now, is called the Glove, and they've had over 250,000 deployments with no injuries or deaths I mean, that's a ridiculous figure, right? They are actually considered a non-lethal device instead of a less lethal, and they've achieved that rare non-lethal status. In an arena, they predominantly can only offer less lethal results. When it comes to weapons retention, transitioning to your sidearm or conducted energy weapon, the Glove at CompliantTechnologies.com, they virtually eliminated weapons confusion. So stay ahead of the game with Compliant Technologies and the revolutionary CD3. The hundreds of agencies have already turned to nationwide. And friends, take it from me, when it comes to safety, this is one of the most common sense, hands-on solutions that's ever come along. Go to CompliantTechnologies.com today and tell them that Chip sent you. All right, 4 minutes, guys, before we come back to the radio portion of the show. All right. Yeah, we're making good time. And I'm going to go and put the comments back on here. And yeah, Betty Dunn's tearing it up today, huh? And we've got people piping it over on Rumble as well. And they're wanting to know how. I remember one of you guys was talking about, the Midnight Hammer, and I remember you mentioned. I remember watching video of them moving some of the uranium, I guess, out to preserve that, and they were asking, how do they know to move it before the bomb hit? And I know a lot of people had that question, including me. Anybody have any intelligence on that? Is this something they just like predicted what happened, or they were preparing for, or do you think they knew it was coming? Or
I think it was a precaution that was taken because I think it was pretty much imminent after the rhetoric that was going back and forth and the dialogues. I think that it was just a matter of time before we struck those sites. So they did that as a precautionary measure. They moved the 60% enriched uranium to other locations. And that's why it was so important to continue this operation. And Epic Fury needed to happen.
Makes
right,
sense.
Rich?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one.
I was going to say I wouldn't doubt if it was part of their SOP to keep moving. I mean, because it's just if you just stay in, it's like anything. If you stay in one place for too long, people are going to talk, and then eventually it's going to get out. But if you keep moving, it makes it harder for them to fix on it.
Excellent point.
Yeah, well, I think the other side to that is people don't realize, especially, in the States, if you're on the East Coast in the big cities, the U.S. arsenal, we do move our nuclear warheads from time to time, right, Frank? They're not all sitting in those silos.
Yeah.
Well, the ICBMs, they're tough to move around, but I will tell you, you're absolutely right. The SLBMs are always out there on patrol. We had the triad, and then, of course, the manned bombers. We can take off, go to the turnaround point, and then strike enemy territory if we need to, or draw them back. So, yeah, we do move them around. That's correct, Rich.
I remember there was a false story out there that Iran had struck the Abraham Lincoln with three missiles, and it was just they just another lie that they made up, I guess. Did you guys hear that one?
I did, and it was false information. It did not happen.
Oh gosh! Yeah. And of
Baghdad
course, yeah, we're on the map, being here in Tampa, and and Central Command being here at MacDill and stuff, so we're always trying to be aware of everything, wherever we go. One day a week. So when I get out of the house. So, well, guys, we're about a minute out from going back to radio, and we'll finish this last story, the one that you guys sent me, and then we'll probably go straight to videos. Actually, some of the video stories that we have, we got some good ones. So hopefully we can kick those out. So, how you doing over there, Chuck? You're kind of quiet today.
Well, you guys got a lot to say. I'm just learning from you guys. I don't know. I don't know much about foreign policy, so. But like I said before, I'm glad to see what we're doing. What we're doing. So.
It's a double-edged sword. I think a lot of the polls, the reason why. I agree with everything Frank said. It's not really an accurate poll, but also people, I don't think anybody wants a long, drawn-out war. I don't think anybody wants that. I know I don't, but that's why it's so important what Trump's doing. He's just going hard. Get it over with.
I love it. All right, guys, back to radio. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. My name is Chip the Block. I'm your host. Hey, we're joined by Secret Service SACs, Frank Loveridge, Rich Derpoli. We've got Lieutenant Chuck Springer from LAPD and Scott Steyert, former Green Beret Delta Force operator. We're talking about a lot right now. We covered two polls, and the first one was where people are at as far as all illegals being shipped out of the country, and then how people felt about the war against Iran. And we just mentioned about one of our subs taking out one of the ships of the Iranian fleet. I don't think they have a navy left at all. And now this last article, nypost.com, U.S. will bitterly regret, and those are in quotation marks, bitterly regret sinking Iranian warship, according to the foreign minister, and as the Ayatollah calls for Trump's blood. Now, it's a threat that they're making to the U.S. The U.S. will bitterly regret the precedent it has set after an American submarine torpedoed an Iranian warship in an attack that left more than 80 sailors dead. The Islamic Republic's foreign minister warned, while an Ayatollah called for President Trump's blood. Now, the U.S. has perpetrated an atrocity at sea, according to them, 2,000 miles away from Iran's shores. And frigate Dana, a guest of India's Navy carrying almost 130 sailors, was struck in international waters without warning. And according to Abbas Arachi, and he wrote this on X, formerly Twitter, on Thursday, and he said, "Mark my words, the U.S. will come to bitterly regret the precedent it has set." And the Ayatollah called for the shedding of Zionist blood, the shedding of Trump's blood, in the wake of the deadly naval attack. It goes on to say that Secretary of War, we love him, Pete Hegseth, said that the ship thought it was safe in international waters before it was struck by a Mark 48 torpedo, which cost about $4.2 million. And it goes on to say that instead it was sunk by torpedo. He called it quiet death. Hegseth said the strike was the first sinking of an enemy ship. This is impressive when you think about it. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II, since the USS Torsk sank a Japanese enemy vessel one day before they surrendered in August of 45. And like in that war, back when we were still in the War Department, he said, we're fighting to win. And then, of course, the Pentagon released the video showing the vessel being hit by the torpedo, huge explosion, ripped apart its rear, and it caused the ship to lift and began to sink from the stern. And Thomas Schugert of the Center for New American Security, he kind of explained it, which I didn't know anything about torpedoes, but he said it was one of the most lethal anti-ship weapons in the U.S. inventory. It creates what they call a vapor bubble under the vessel, causes it to split in half. I mean, torpedo detonated underneath the stern of the Iranian ship, lifted it out of the water, and so it sank in a matter of minutes, according to Fox News Digital. And Sri Lanka's Navy recovered 87 bodies, rescued 32 people on Wednesday. The ship's commander and some of the top brass were actually among the survivors. The Iris Dana was headed back to Iran from an eastern Indian port when it was hit, according to the to the deputy foreign minister from there. And it said that it had taken part in a naval drill organized by India between February the 18th and 25th. And also U.S. Central Command officials, they confirmed that the U.S. has struck or sunk more than 20 Iranian ships. Wow, that's pretty impressive. So, Scott, what you're thinking of this? Scott, have you ever had the privilege of being on a submarine?
No, I never have.
That probably doesn't bother you either.
No, I'm 6'4". I don't. Everything I've heard about subs, I do not want to be on a sub, or even a boat for that matter, or a ship. Well, again, it goes back to what I was saying. Hey, if we're going to do this, let's not do it like, it's kind of like it's the equivalent of somebody saying, hey, that guy had a gun. Why didn't you shoot him in the leg? Well, we all know, because we're professionals, we've been there, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? Like, I mean, it's just there's so many reasons for that. Okay, it's kind of the same thought process. If you're going to do it, wipe them out. You don't want any boats there so they can hold everybody hostage with oil and commerce coming out of the Strait of Hormuz, I think it is. Why? I mean, just so they have a way to hold us hostage again. And then they're saying they're threatening the blood of Trump and Americans and all that. Okay, they've been doing that for 40 years. I mean, that's the point. That's why someone that crazy with a regime that's willing to do that hates people that bad, that is the number one sponsor of state terrorism in the world, why would you let them have a nuclear weapon? This is, I mean, they made their bed and now they have to lay on it. That's the way I look at it. Just get it over with. Just go in hard the way we are. We're doing it smartly, and don't give them a chance to get up and fight back.
You know, the people I run with in my circles, I mean, I see some of the rhetoric when I watch the news and stuff. And one thing I like about Fox is that they show you what the other news agencies are actually saying. I mean, they actually play the clips and you get to watch it, and not just isolated shows. The people I roll with, everybody's excited. They can't wait to get up in the morning to find out what happened and stuff. We don't want anything bad to happen to our people over here. And we know that there's been some casualties, unfortunately, but we understand it's for the greater good. And it should have never been allowed to get to this point, like sending billions of dollars there and other things. So, guys, any more commentary on this? Chuck, I just noticed that your mic's open. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, no, just a real quick, Chip. I mean, what an impressive video. I've never been in the military. I'm not around explosives a lot, but that was extremely impressive to watch. I had no idea that we had torpedoes that were capable of doing something like that. And like Scott mentioned, and we've mentioned before, it's all in. We got to destroy every military capability they have. And if you run 2,000 miles away, then you run 2,000 miles away. We just sink you further from home than where you were before. So good for them.
So before we move on, there's a huge takeaway here that I want to make sure everybody gets. I'm not worried about you guys, but just our listening audience, because we are a law enforcement talk show. The article that Rich and Frank made me aware of today, which we added on this last one that we covered with the threat from Iran, and they're really, make no mistake, it's a call to action for people, cells, and sleepers that are everywhere. And it's just, guys, if you're, and I said it, I think on yesterday's show, if you're active or retired, law enforcement, or even our military brothers and sisters, and you're not carrying, and you have the capability to, I mean, that to where you can legally do it, that you're not suffering from PTSD or other issues, or that you can carry, please do that. Keep your head on a swivel, because I know you guys are like me. If it goes down, I'm hoping that, I mean, my wife hates it, but this is what we train for. I'm looking for it. I don't want anything bad to happen, but if it happens, I hope I'm there to be able to do something about it, and decisively. So I just encourage, we need more good guys with guns. And if there was ever a time where you needed to be armed or carrying under your Leosa or your HR-218, now's the time to do that, and to make sure that you train as well. I mean, I'm getting ready to go. I got another date set up to go shooting and the qualify again. So you just gotta be on that edge, and you got to be ready to go. You keep that head on the swivel. Rich and Frank, final words.
Yeah, if you'll allow me, Chip. So I think for all the cops out there, especially the newer guys, the Iranians are huge proponents of the IED, right? The homemade bomb, the device in the package. When you get a call out there for a suspicious package or a suspicious device, you've got to take it seriously. Don't be the guy that pulls up, gets out of the car, walks up to the backpack that's laying there, and just kicks it or picks it up and throws it into the trunk of your car, because you don't know what's inside of it. It's a new world right now as of 5 days ago. You've got to take these calls for these suspicious packages, and you're going to see more and more of these calls. I mean, New York alone, I get all the alerts. They probably had half a dozen of these just yesterday. Take these calls seriously. It could mean the big difference between getting hurt and not getting hurt.
Wow.
I'll just add one thing, Chip, to that, and that is that since January 2022 until early 2025, we had 1,650 encounters on the southern border with the Iranians, reported by CBP. Of that, 729 of them were released into our country. Now, these are just encounters. There's more than that. But also, one of them was actually a sniper in the Iranian army who was caught at the border. And others were vetted to find out they did have terrorism ties. So these people are in our country. We know it. Where they are, the FBI is working on that now under Pam Bondi and at the Justice Department and Kash Patel. But I got to tell you, the chances of a soft target, or some type of explosive device like Richie was talking about, it's prevalent in this country. We need to keep our heads on a swivel. And you're absolutely right, Chip. Make sure if you're capable of carrying a firearm, we need more good guns out there than bad guns. So I agree with you 100%. But this is real. This threat is real, and I think we need to take it very seriously.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out that we're really, under the gun on this. I'm so glad we have Pam Bondi. We have the new FBI. This is what they excelled at. This is what they did fantastically. There were some hiccups during the Biden administration, but it's Trump 2.0. It's our new FBI, Kash Patel, and these guys are just killing it. They even do better if you're a local sheriff and you have a missing person. You let them actually come in and take over and do the investigation for you too. They do even better. This is where they shine. So I'm hoping that. Well, I got 13 seconds for a commercial break, but I can't. I hope that they continue to do what they're doing, guys. We got a commercial break coming up. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, time to talk about GunLearn at gunlearn.com. And as law enforcement officers, we deal with guns and we deal with ammo every day, but it's what we don't know about them that gets us into trouble. Injuries, civil lawsuits, accidental discharges, misidentifications, lost prosecutions, and disciplinary issues. But gunlearn.com, they have your back. You can quickly become extremely firearm knowledgeable by simply learning 14 training modules from the convenience of your home or your office, or by attending a live seminar at gunlearn.com. You can also become a safe, accurate, and competent certified firearm specialist like our very own Captain Brett Bartlett and also attorney Ken Apianco. The course itself has had huge success in raising the bar of firearm knowledge, and GunLearn has been a trusted source since way back in 2011 by gun manufacturers, federal agencies, forensic organizations, and even police departments nationwide. Now, the founder, Dan O'Kelly's got a deal for you. If you're a chief or a sheriff, you have your own agency, you can host a seminar for absolutely no cost. It's an amazing opportunity. You go to gunlearn.com to get more information. Again, that is gunlearn.com. All right, 2 minutes, guys, before we come back to the radio. Have you guys, Dan O'Kelly worked with ATF. He now has GunLearn, and he teaches a lot of he teaches, local and state agencies all over the place, but he works with a lot of feds as far as that GunLearn information with guns and ammo. Have you guys, does that name ring a bell, Dan O'Kelly or anything, or not really?
No.
He's done some stuff with the FBI too and stuff. So I thought maybe you guys have maybe sat under one of his courses. I took his course when I was a detective at TPD. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, but he was still active. And that's when I approached him and said, dude, you got to get this. You got to get this on the computer. You got to do online classes. But he was still working at the time, but they were letting him do it for them. And so now he's monetized it quite well after he retired from ATF. And now he's the guy they hired to go up against ATF. If you get jammed up, he's ATF hates him. I see Scott Club that they hate him. Yeah, but he wins. He just ATF. It's sad that they have their interpretation of the law. The way that they've been, especially it was just so abused during the Biden administration, and now we've got tax stamps no longer existing for things like suppressors and things. It's just, I like the way things are going right now. So I'm sure Scott does too.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 30 seconds, guys, before we head back to radio. So.
Yeah, the whole suppressor thing just blows my mind. I mean, I wear hearing aids, and it's like every time I go to the range, it's like I'm like, why? It should be a law if you don't use the suppressor on there. Yeah. It's so obnoxious. So I'm very pleased that that's being changed. It's got a long ways to go, but it's a start.
Agreed. All right, guys, 6 seconds. Back to radio. Here we go. Our last run. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host. We're joined by Secret Service Sachs, Frank Leverage, Rich Darapoli, Lieutenant Chuck Springer from LAPD, Scott Steyer, former Green Beret Delta Force operative. And we've been talking about threats from Iran, actually, and how serious to take those and keeping your head on the swivel. And actually, Rich brought up a good point about, guys, you see an unknown package and just going up and picking it up, touching it, kicking it. I mean, I'm waiting for I'm not hoping this to happen, but there's going to be a cop somewhere that does something stupid and goes up and it just doesn't take it seriously. And that's how we're going to find out that there's really something to worry about. So I'm hoping you guys are listening to the show, get word to your friends and stuff that this is out of the norm. Scott can probably tell you stories about IEDs and all kinds of stuff, or knows people who have been on the wrong end of that. this is a new world for a lot of us. If you're not former military, like myself, I started police work at 21. So this is a whole new world that you've got to be willing to embrace or pay a heavy consequence. So if you guys are ready, we've got a couple of stories with video components. We got 8.5 minutes left. So if it's okay with you, gentlemen, I'm going to go in and pop into our first story, the video component. And it's here in Florida, in Volusia County. So at rumble.com, our favorite law enforcement video channel called This Is Butter, Volusia County Sheriff's Deputy is saved by his body cam when he ends up being shot twice during a battery investigation. This cop, there were two cops there. They could both be dead. I mean, and arguably maybe should be, just because not necessarily that they did anything wrong, but this bad guy got such a jump on them. We're in Deltona, Florida. This is in Volusia County jurisdiction. So we have a Volusia County deputy still recovering after being shot twice while responding to a call on Monday. I know that they show a picture of the body cam getting struck, and I know that it appeared that he was shot in the leg. And then when they're walking away, there's blood coming out. They say, "Oh, you're shot in the arm too." So I'm assuming that the bullet, since they said he was shot twice, not three, I'm assuming that maybe it deflected and went, into one of those spots. But Deputy Jose Rivera was struck twice, and the bullet hitting his body-worn camera likely prevented more serious injury. During a press conference on Tuesday, Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood heard nothing but great things about him, showed body camera footage from a deputy capturing the incident as it happened, because there was the main body camera in the beginning was not, it was of another deputy. But during the encounter, the shooter fired 12 bullets at responding officers, 12 rounds. He used a 9mm handgun that was initially purchased legally. On February the 14th, the shooter reportedly asked an AI chat program whether he could shoot somebody if they entered his property. And the sheriffs gave an update on the deputy's condition after the shooting. He said that he's in good spirits and he's still in the hospital recovering. And he said that he was watching, we got to have an intervention with this deputy. He's watching SpongeBob eating chicken and waffles when the sheriff shows up at the hospital. But the deputy's anticipated to leave the hospital eventually as his recovery progresses. I'm just looking here at my show notes and stuff. It says that deputies initially arrived and make contact with one suspect, and he says, "Hey man, how you doing?" or something like that, and the guy just bolts in the door and closes the door of the residence. And the deputies looking through the glass window and tapping on it, telling the guy come back to the door, and the guy does. But when he does, now he comes out, with the pistol, and he exits and fires 12 shots. And now the deputies are just like, they're just flying to get out of there. Now there's a lot to take in. So right after that, at the 36-second mark, now they replay it, but now it's in slow motion, so you can see a lot more. This deputy asked for a tourniquet at the 57-second mark. It appears to have been shot in the leg, but as they're walking away, like I said earlier, they see blood coming out of the arm, and they put a tourniquet on that too. And then they show a picture of the body cam, being struck, maybe deflecting it. They put the deputy in the back of a cruiser in a cage. Not a lot of room back there to haul back to the hospital. And then at the end, at 3:02, deputies move in to arrest the suspect, and they have an air service video as they're extracting people out of the residence. So commentary on this, guys, Chuck Springer.
Yeah, hey, first of all, thankfully they're okay. And again, I got to throw out my disclaimers. I haven't talked to the officers. I don't know what their statements are. We haven't viewed evidence. There's a couple things that kind of concerned me when I saw this video. The guy ducks back into the house right as they're walking up. At that point, my spidey senses are on full alert. And looking at the body language from the one deputy, he had his hands up on his vest here. It didn't look like he was taking this as seriously as I would have. My hand would have been down by my gun. Number two, the guy comes out shooting. God forbid that ever happens to anybody, but you're now in a straight up gunfight. You're right there, and you got to start fighting the guy. Turning around and running, it has an instinct component to it, but you're turning your back to the suspect. Again, I haven't talked to these guys. That's just kind of what I'm taking from the video. And again, thankfully they're okay. And why this guy isn't dead, I don't know, but it is what it is. The other thing is, I don't even know if they ever got these tourniquets on this guy properly. Get the tourniquets on him before you try to put him in the car. It didn't look like they got the tourniquet around the limbs, but they didn't really tighten it up and, do everything you got to do to stop the blood. So if you're not adequately or properly applying the tourniquet, you're not doing any good. But, thankfully he's okay.
Yeah. Good point.
And to add to that, so watching that, it reminded me, it brought back memories of when I was shot overseas a little bit, because for me it was unexpected. I mean, we knew there were bad guys there. We had already been in a gunfight, but I got shot in the arm. It hit bone. Immediately, I am ineffective. Right, I have my rifle up. Now I have one hand on it. I'm really ineffective, which is why it's so important. And I did that. I turned out of the way. I got out of in front of the window, got out of the way. But that's why you have other people there, right? I mean, you can't do it all. I mean, it's just, and when I saw that, if they just would have set up on the door a little bit better, there's no reason to be one behind the other, spread out a little bit. When that guy comes out with a gun in his hand, he can only shoot one person at a time. That's the opportunity for the other guy to take him out while he's just blasting at this other guy. So I think the way they approached the door and how they positioned themselves on the door could have been better. And to your point on the tourniquet, I agree. I mean, the tourniquet, when it was put on me, it was more painful than the gunshot. I mean, it was horrible when it's done right, So yeah, I think there's a little bit like maybe they could go back and do some training on that, because I think everybody was amped up and there was a lot of people that were like dealing with this one guy, and there was tourniquets everywhere. And it's like, hey, what's going on over here with the guy? But again, I wasn't there. I don't know how many were on scene. But it just seemed like they kind of left that alone, and everybody was worried about this guy, which is, it's important, but it's more important to make sure that the bad guy's not going to come out and create more casualties. Like that's the number one thing, is to eliminate the threat first and then deal with casualties. So yeah, I mean, a little bit, but I mean, in hindsight, everything's 2020. But when you get shot right off the bat and like you can't do anything at that moment, I always go back to like, we never did anything in Singletons. I would say never, but rarely. I mean, hardly ever. And that's what you rely on your buddy for. He should be there to take up that threat.
Got you. Richie.
Well, I think, part of the problem, and I totally agree with what Scott's saying, but part of the problem is, and you're seeing this more and more in all the academies, wherever you go in the country, they're so concerned about turning out cops that are going to engage with the public, whether it's on a car stop or in their home, and achieve some level of professionalism, respect, and courtesy, that they've completely forgotten about why you're there in the first place. Before you engage with people, you better be thinking tactically and be thinking a little more aggressively that you don't know what you're walking into. Deal with that first, and then you can worry about the level of respect and courtesy and professionalism. But you can't just walk into somebody's house totally unprepared, especially when you pull up on a guy who ducks back in the house. You don't know what he's doing in there. You've got to get more into the mindset, and this has to start at the academy level of, hey, I may have to engage with this guy, shoot him and kill him. Then I'll worry about dealing with what the situation is.
Mm. All good stuff, guys. All good stuff. We're coming down. We're winding it down. Any final words on this last topic before we close it out? All right. Well, some good commentary, Scott. That was some great stuff. And guys, thanks so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. And again, we've got our two Secret Service execs, Rich Staropoli, Frank Loveridge, also Lieutenant Chuck Springer from LAPD, and Scott Steyer, Green Beret, Delta Force. Some great information, Scott. I usually take this opportunity to talk about the Wounded Blue at thewoundedblue.org. Lieutenant Randy Sutton's 501c3, helping cops out in a world of hurt that are suffering from things like PTSD and some other issues. You can go to thewoundedblue.org today. We just had that fundraiser that we did for them. It was called the Glove Challenge, where myself and Travis Yates got gloved. And I beat out Travis just by a fraction of a second. If they would have told me that he won and I lost, I would have believed him, because I lasted 1 point something seconds, and he was, I think, right around the 1 second mark, and we had people timing it. But anyhow, I get a free pair of gloves that I'm donating to the Tampa Police Department, and MVS, Michael Von Slock at Rumble, he got, the other pair. They're going to an agency. So, hey guys, support our sponsors, Gullis.com, CompliantTechnologies.com, Gunlearn.com, Medicare.life, Safeguard Recruiting, and TwoBells.com. Thanks for watching the show. We'll see you guys back at 12 noon Eastern. And we're going to keep it going just for like another minute, guys, just to keep the satellite company happy. We've got about 1 minute and 1 second before we're going to shut the feed off. So does anyone have any words of wisdom to our listening audience? I thought that, Rich, what you said about packages and head on a swivel, Frank, and all these things, because it's a whole new, I mean, we're dealing, if you're just a street cop, well, I guess really everybody, I mean, if they're doing it right, you should be a street cop first, right? And then you go on, but we're not used to this stuff. So and it was interesting what you were talking about NYPD and what's going on over there and all these, abandoned packages. So that was good food for thought.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we're coming up on the 25th anniversary of September 11th.
Yeah.
And we've got a communist towel head for a mayor in New York, which is a big problem, right?
Yeah. A very big problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a huge concern with the sleeper cells in this country right now. It's hard for them to. I think what's coming out of Iran right now, when you have this rhetoric that comes out, which is a call to action, some of these people who are either mentally ill or 100% indoctrinated into this ideology, you've got to be careful because these people will activate. And when they do, it's usually going after soft targets, large groups of people, areas. New York is obviously a danger zone. That's an area that we have to be very careful. But there's other areas in our country and big events that are going on. So we need to just keep our eyes open. We are at war. We can't forget that.
Yeah. And people just can't wrap their head around the fact, and I know Scott knows this because it's really, my brothers in military that have told me that, from the moment these people over there are born, they whisper in their ears, death to America, infidels, it's just they're just brainwashed into this thing. And that's why I'm sure Trump is so frustrated with a strategy that would work anywhere else in the world. It's just not going to work in the Middle East or with Iran because they just don't think like we think. You can't intimidate these people like you can other people. They just don't operate that much, that like that. It's just the craziest thing. Thanks, Frank. Last words, Frank. You got your mic open, so I figured you got to.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I left it open, but I would just say that I wish everybody a great weekend coming up here. It's a couple of days away, and thanks, Chip, for having us on the show.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks. Another great show, Scotty. All right.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.
I'm glad Scott's not holding his phone number up anymore like he did last week. So, look, thanks, guys, for being here. All of our supporters and streamers, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys back tomorrow, hopefully 12 noon Eastern. And I'm going to let the stream go.